So the screencast is about Article 6, wages and working conditions. The first section identifies what our pay raises are for the remainder of this contract. So 2.7 for the 17-18 school year and 2.75 for the 18-19 school year. It also talks about salary calculations and a salary schedule, which is established. And also in this contract, we'll do a screencast and show you how you can calculate what your pay should be for each pay. It also identifies at what point do we freeze the matrix and base salaries off of, which for this contract was January 10th, 2014. The next section is about teachers of children special education children, uh, gifted in speech and hearing impaired, and this is basically identifying that they receive a $400 stipend annually that is also just rolled into their pay, their bi-monthly pay. 6.03 for those folks who are teaching extended school year, so guidance counselors, librarians, school psychologists, uh, they have to notify you by March 1st of each year to let you know how many days you're going to be working between the months of June and August, and they should give you some idea of what those days are as well. This also identifies that the school psychologist, if they have to do uh, if they have to do some evaluations outside of their days that they're required to do for extended school year, how much they are paid per evaluation, which is 425 for 17-18 and 450 for 2018-19. Additional service pay, this details the pay rates for additional service, so for things like summer school, curriculum writing, homebound instruction, and so on. So those rates are visible right there. Extracurricular salaries also were increased in this contract by the same rates as typical salaries. Also know that if you are a coach, you receive $55 per year of experience. So if you are a coach that has 10 years of experience, you should have an extra $550 in your pay for your coaching stipend. Uh, those extracurricular pays are paid out for fall sports at the second pay period in November. For winter sports, you are paid in the second pay in March, and for spring sports, you are paid at the first pay in June. And the rest also details some information for coaches, things like if you have if your teams go to districts or so on, how much you're paid for each practice and competition day. It also details about coaching conferences that you could attend and that kind of stuff. 606 is about new positions. The board retains the right to create new positions whenever they wish, and they should negotiate with the association for compensation if that position requires it, but they determine the base salaries of those new positions. For travel reimbursement, if you are required to travel somewhere for the district, you are basically paid the IRS rate, and this also identifies what their insurance policy covers regarding travel. 608 is about severance. So when it comes time for retirement, you will have a severance package available for you. And there are two options. The first one is you can multiply your years of service by $250 or $255, depending on what year you retire. And so if you taught for 10 years and you retired in 2018-19 school year, you would take 10 times $255. If you have been an employee with the Big Spring School District for 20 years, so you have 20 years of service at Big Spring, you have a second option. If you have less than 20 years, you don't have that second option. So if you have more than 20 years of service, you can take 80% of the substitute per diem rate, which I think is like $72 or $74 per day, and multiply that by the number of sick days that you have accumulated. So again, $74. If you have 100 sick days, you would take $74 times 100. You would have a severance package of 7,400. The maximum severance allowance is 17,500, and understand that this must be rolled into a 403b tax shelter annuity, or you can have some of it put into an HSA account. Just be careful that you do not go over allowable rates on each of those. 609 is about tax shelter annuity, and that the board will offer that to the members. There are 4 available slots, so that means we can have 4 different vendors, and you can ask the district office or an association officer who those 4 vendors are. Typically, you hear from them throughout the year, either through the faculty room or at wellness fairs or something like that. And our suggestion is the sooner you start and open up a 403b, the better. Just contribute a little bit each pay, and that will go to great lengths to helping you secure some a good and healthy retirement. Number 610, salary credit for out-of-district service. This is basically employees shall be granted credit for professional experience in public schools gained outside of the district. So employees hired after 1992 shall receive at least 1/2 credit for every year of professional public school service. So if you taught at a public school in, let's say, Kansas, and you moved to Pennsylvania and you taught there for 10 years, the district has to at least give you credit for 5 of them. The district can give you credit for all 10 if they choose, but they have to give you a credit for at least 10. If you taught in a parochial school or a non-public school, you do not get any additional credit. It has to be a public school. Number 611 is about direct deposit. This states that all employees will have direct deposit through the district for all pay, basically. 612 is about opening evaluation. Understand that you have a personnel file that is in the district office. You have the right to go in and view that personnel file at any time. The district cannot have separate files on you. So a building principal cannot have a separate file on Joe Smith, and it cannot contain different information than the personnel file that is maintained in the office. Again, you can request to see what is in there at any time. 613 is about master's equivalency. So if you earn a master's equivalency as defined by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, you can then move to the master's level on the salary schedule. 614 talks about pay period. We at Big Spring are paid bi-monthly, so you are paid on the 15th and the 30th of each month. If the 15th or the 30th falls on a banking holiday or a weekend, then that pay is distributed the business day before the 15th or the 30th. Or in the case of February, there's not 30 days, you are paid on the 28th or earlier, depending on where the 28th falls. The first pay of a new salary schedule is the last pay in August. So that is essentially the new pay year, if you want to look at it that way. So that is Article 6. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact a building rep or association officer.